In this Tools in 10, we'll be talking about teaching the CI-CE-CY skill. The lesson can be found on page 122 in your Training Companion Guide. I will show you how you can introduce the skill, followed by various word study activities and games that children can play to help them develop pattern recognition. Let's first talk about how the lesson page is organized. The teacher notes box at the top tells you all that you need to know about the skill. Notice that the words in the first three columns follow the vowel CE pattern, which is an earlier skill that is taught on the vowel CE, vowel GE lesson page several lessons ago. So you can use these columns as a review of that skill before going on to the last two columns that have a combination of CI, CE, CY at the beginning, middle, and ends of words. In the middle of the page, you have a section of words with the hard and soft C and also CH sounds. Here, children must differentiate between the sounds. These words can also be made into a game of books. Then you have this section that gives children practice with pattern recognition. Here, the child says either the soft or hard C sound based on what letter is after it. And I will explain more about this section later. At the bottom, you have sentences for marking and reading or dictating. And then this section in the bottom right-hand corner has words with silent E that have slight differences. And children need to alternate between the short and long vowel sounds in words like price and prince, mice and mince, and so on. It is important to remember when teaching a new skill, it is best to connect the new skill to a previously learned skill as often as possible. So for this skill, students have already worked with words with vowel CE patterns like you see here with race, slice, and spruce. They've learned that when CE is at the end of a word, C says S, and that silent E can jump over one consonant and tell the vowel to say its name. So briefly review the skill and read a few words written on a whiteboard or built with letter tiles. Then teach the new skill by saying C says S when it is followed by I, E, or Y. Then tap the chart square 3 times and then write each pattern individually 4 times each. Let me demonstrate how I would teach this skill and connect it to prior learning. Today we're going to work with words that have CI, CE, and CY patterns. Now we've already studied words that have CE at the end. Look at these words. These words all have the same pattern. They all have CE at the end, and they all have a vowel consonant E pattern. What is one thing that the silent E does at the end of each of these words? That's right. It can jump over one consonant and tell the vowel to say its name. This vowel says A, this vowel says I, and this vowel can say U or oo. Silent E has another job in these words. Do you remember what it tells the C to say? That's right. It tells the C to say S. Let's read these words. Race, slice, spruce. So we know C says S when it is followed by E, but C also says S when it is followed by I and Y. Let's tap it on our chart 3 times. C-I, C-E, C-Y, city, S. C-I, C-E, C-Y, city, S. C-I, C-E, C-Y, city, S. Now let's write the skill while saying the sound, and we'll do one at a time, starting with C-I. Let's write C-I 4 times. C-I, S, C-I, S, C-I, S, C-I, S. Now let's do C-E. C-E, S, C-E, S, C-E, S, C-E, S. And now let's do C-Y. CY, 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 CY. After writing each pattern, it's time to arm tap words orally. As you tap the sounds, ask the children to listen to where they hear the S sound. An optional thing you can do is to ask them what vowel sound they hear after the S. And this allows them to review that both Y and I can say I, and that Y can make more than one vowel sound depending on where it is in a word. So for the word cell, we hear the S at the beginning, followed by the short E sound, eh. So we hear the CE pattern. For the word cyst, we hear S at the beginning, followed by an I sound. So that I sound could be an I or it could be a Y. For the word city, we again hear the I sound after the S. So that I sound could be an I or a Y. In the word fancy, we hear S followed by E at the end of the second syllable. So we know that when we hear E at the end of a two-syllable word, that is a Y making that E sound. And in the word ice, we hear S at the end of the word, but we don't hear a vowel sound. So we know that that is a silent E at the end. After arm tapping orally, it's time to engage the child in some word study activities. One simple way to practice the skill is to have the child highlight the skill and read words on a lesson page or on a game page. Let me demonstrate marking the skill on a lesson page. Notice on your lesson page that we have words that are grouped by pattern. The first three columns, you have a vowel CE pattern, and that means that the E has two jobs. It is jumping over one consonant and telling the vowel to say its name, and it's also telling the C to make its soft sound. So you can have students work with this first section that has the same pattern. Let's mark the pattern and say the sound S, 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 and then read the words mice, pace, race, dice. And they can do the same for each of those sections. In this column, we have CY that says S. So you can have them mark and say the sound S, S, S. And then when they go back to read, they notice that that Y is at the end, and Y at the end of a two-syllable word says E. Fancy, Nancy, chancy, unfancy. In these words, the Y is in the middle. And when the Y is in the middle, we've learned that Y says I, like Jim. Cyst, signet, symbol, cynic. In this column, we have CE, but CE is at the beginning. So they can mark it and say the sound, S, and then go back and read the words. Now the E has a vowel sound, cell, cells. This one, the silent E is jumping over, seed, scent. And in this last section, we have CE in the middle, and then there's an S in front of it. But that CE still says S. We just say this sound once. So this word is scent, seen, ascend, descend. Here are some other word study activities that you can have the child do to practice the new skill. This word sorting activity has a reading focus and helps the child to distinguish between the hard and soft C sounds. The child can highlight the C and the letter immediately after it, read the word with the correct sound, and then sort the words by the sound the C makes. Another activity with a reading focus is a two-column matching, where you have two-syllable words with the skill, and the child matches the beginning and ending syllables to make words. And they can highlight the CI, CE, CY in the syllables before matching them. If your children need to practice spelling words with these patterns, these activities give students a fun purpose for writing. They can arm tap and write words onto a game board or bingo board, and then play the game when it is complete. You can also dictate words for children to make their own Go Fish cards or memory card deck. And on the lesson page, there are these boxes of 4 words, which can be used to make a game of books card deck. Older children love this game and could make their own card decks. For each group of words, they will need to make a total of 4 cards. Each card has the same group of words, but written in a different order. So they get lots of repetition with writing these patterns. Here's an activity that helps develop pattern recognition and can be done for a review. You can use the lesson page or write the letter combinations listed here on an index card. The child will tell the sound that the C makes in each letter combination. Start by having the child highlight the letter directly after the C and say the correct sound, S or K. They can repeat the activity again, saying the sounds in the same order, or they can try a different order. There are many games that you can have children play for repeated practice with the skill. Use either the page of words on page 123 or the phrases and sentences on page 124, and have children mark the skill for word study and then turn it into a roll and read game to play. Just group the words into sections and number each section 1 through 6. You can find directions on how to play roll and read on page 263 in your training companion guide. And there is also a ready-made game board and 2 pages of game cards to play game of books in your training companion guide. There are many more games in the Trainee shared folder that you can choose from to match the skill levels and needs of your children. Remember that games are an important part of this work and not just a reward. They provide a fun and engaging activity with meaningful repetition to help them move the skills into long-term memory.